Okay, folks. I don't agree with the right on a lot. I'd say, as a matter of fact, disagreeing with them is most of my job on this platform. However, if there's one thing on which we are in complete agreement, and I think most people, it's that virtually all problems in life, everything, society, you stub your toe, can be blamed on trans women. Example one: Jessica Watkins, Oath Keeper, January 6 protester, and trans woman. Crazy, right? Well, it takes all kinds. Oath Keepers member and Army vet sentenced to 8.5 years in prison for January 6. Crazy, right? This is from May 2023. This is from earlier this year. Now, the sentencing isn't what we're here to talk about, okay? But let's get some background info. 8.5 years is a lot, okay? She wasn't just at the Jan 6, right? If you were just in the crowd, they don't charge you. Yeah, you have to do some stuff to get 8.5 years now. It's quite a lot. Convicted of conspiracy to obstruct official proceeding, as well as other felony charges. Watkins not only was a part of a militia, but founded one in Ohio, and mobilized her group in coordination with the Oath Keepers to Washington, D.C. on January 6, marched in tactical gear. Yeah, don't let them tell you trans women can't do anything, huh? So, here's the funny part. Well, I don't know if it's necessarily funny. It's more of a why are the leopards eating my face kind of deal. This is a tweet from her from 2 days ago. Call to action. The cops plan to put me in a men's prison. I am currently being held in a men's jail. See photo for who to contact to help ensure I go to a women's prison. Now, who will I at in order to help me in my cause of going to a woman's prison? I know. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Representative Jim Jordan, and Matt Gaetz. I'm sure they're already hard at work getting her sent to the prison aligned with her gender identity. Interesting. The comments are mostly people roasting her for this, which isn't really surprising. This is too hard to understand. Well, if you look back in the history of pretty much any reactionary movement. Okay, so here's the thing, all right? So many reactionary people operate on like a but not that one system of moral analysis. So an anti-abortion far-right group will still have people there when they need an abortion. It's like, oh, okay, well, when other people need abortions, it's because they're hoodlums from the inner city who get knocked up and they're irresponsible. But in my case, it's different. This is like a legitimate one. So they get their abortion. Likewise, there are, guys, how many black and Hispanic especially white nationalists and white supremacists have we seen online, Because they think they're spiritually white, right? Like Ian Miles Chung used to post as Sol Invictus and talk about how he was spiritually white, They're all allies until they're not. A lot of people really do operate in a kind of pick-me system. My guess, this is just my guess, I don't know for sure, but considering the fact this person marched with the Oath Keepers and also formed a militia, this person is probably overwhelmingly mobilized either by anti-government radicalism or, and this is the more likely one, racism. And trust me, folks, you go on 4chan, there are plenty of racist trans women, all right? Racist trans women, femboys, I don't know what it is, you do the whole failed men bit, and all of a sudden the most important thing to distinguish yourself from the degenerate left is by proving that you're aligned with the white race. You've seen it, right? Yeah, you've seen it. They're going for the insanity defense with this? No, they're not. Quit saying that. That's not true. A lot of people don't know how the insanity defense actually works. It's not on the table here. Well, maybe that was a joke, It could be like a class thing. It could be a race thing. I don't really know. But I guess like the question is, what's motivating her to act like this, right? So I think that a lot of us can imagine a person being trans and also being far right, because you've probably met people like this online at least, even if they're not that common, they do exist. But I think a lot of you would imagine that if you were that type of person and you were put in a men's jail, you probably wouldn't then run to Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jim Jordan, Matt Gaetz to get sent to a woman's prison. That would be like kind of weird to do, considering the fact that the entire animating force of your political party for years now has been about keeping trans women out of women's spaces. Like that's the bedrock political level, So why would she do this? Well, obviously, being, one of the people who marched on Jan 6, she's probably not that mentally well. a lot of this is probably like brainworms or whatever. So there's definitely that, that animating force. But I think a lot of people are really bad at committing to the essentialist truth of essentialist political thinking. That is, there are a lot of people who operate on really sweeping generalizations, except for themselves, or except for their loved ones, or except for their partner. How many white nationalists are there that are Hispanic or black, or who want an Asian girlfriend or wife or whatever? How many, how many times have we seen somebody like completely misalign themselves politically? It's like the one of the good ones things, right? The reality is that nobody is actually really capable of full-on, like, across-the-board essentialist thinking along group lines. Like, there were Nazis who would still do the, well, this is one of the good ones with Jews. Seriously, it's more esoteric because the Nazis were so hardlined against Jewish people that it's difficult for even that kind of stuff to pop out. But if you read up on, like, the history of Nazi governance, there were efforts to do this, like, whoa, I know, the international Jewry, I get it, but hey, my man over here, my guy over here, come on, that happened, yeah. Hitler had a special Jewish doctor. Yeah, no, there are like exceptions all over the place, right? And that's because, as much as they talk about like fundamentally, like, no, it's all black people, it's all Hispanic people, it's all trans people, it's all whatever. Reactionaries carve out exemptions. And the reason for that is because that kind of essentialist thinking is inhuman. It's robotic. You know that Charlie Chaplin speech, the great dictator, where he talks about, like, don't listen to these machine men? That's one of the machine men ideas. The idea of, like, categorizing people in such flat and essentialist terms that it's like, oh, this is their ethnicity? That's it. Okay, that's categorization done, It works from afar, because from afar, at a distance, you can't tell the difference between people. Go up to the top floor of a skyscraper, look down, you can't tell the difference between the people down there. They're just dots, But once you get up close to people, the differences speak to you. And a lot of people, even people who belong to groups that you don't like, are really likable, How many times have you seen right-wingers online leap to do one of the "this is one of the good ones" thing? I see it all the time, where anytime a trans person says something that kind of lines up with conservative ideology, there are conservatives going like, whoa, look at you, Or same with black people, Hispanic people, whatever. They do it a lot with lefties, too. They've done it to me. Anytime I argue with other people on the left, invariably there's one or two people who are like, Vosh, finally learning that the left turns and eats its own. In the desperate hope that I might one day shift to their side. Yeah, it happened with TYT, with Anna Kasparian, now that she's literally Hitler. There were literally thousands of people responding to her being like, Anna Kasparian, I may have spent a decade and a half hating you, and all your statements and political values are diametrically opposed to my own, but you were mean to a left-leaning person, so now you're pretty good, you're pretty all right. They love doing that shit. And I think fundamentally just that kind of like super sweeping essentialist thinking is really inhuman, and people just don't like doing it. Like, maybe they enjoy doing it like for political expediency, but they don't like doing it like on an emotional level. It feels like they want to break from that. I just think it's another example of how inhuman our opposition is, or at the very least, like, the inhumanity of their politics, right? Where they're so desperate to appeal to tribalism that they end up like breaking line with ordinary, healthy human behavior, and they try to essentialize things to the point where everything breaks down on an interpersonal level. These kinds of contradictions don't have to take place if you're a left-leaning person, because left-leaning people are open to systemic analysis, Like, a left-leaning person can easily carve out exemptions because their analysis is never as simple as X group bad, X group good, There's always something that you can work with, some mode of analysis, some way of rationalizing things where you see things in a new light, or you consider a new perspective with nuance, right? But then you get stuff like this. Anyway, I mean, obviously, I hope she gets put in a women's prison. For me to say that, oh, well, this is what she deserves, go to a men's prison, is essentially me saying I hope she gets punished with for being a reactionary, which I don't believe that. I don't think anyone should ever be punished with rape for any reason. I think she should be punished with a harsh prison sentence in a woman's prison. That's enough. Will she succeed? Well, maybe. The people she's adding here don't give a shit whether or not she gets in a men's prison, but it's possible the justice system will turn some wheels. It's happened before, so maybe she'll get moved over. Is she actually trans? There's no way to answer that question for anybody. She's been living as a woman for years and years, which is years and years more than I've ever lived as a woman. So, you know, I mean, by it's as considering I've lived as a woman for 0 seconds, she's infinity more trans than I am, you know? Why would anyone think she isn't? I think there's a temptation with trans people that I encourage you all to grow past. The idea that authentic trans people align with a certain set of political values, and if you don't, then you're not authentically trans. The God's honest truth is that, first of all, people of any group are capable of being cripplingly stupid. That's one. Self-hating, there's more of that with trans women than there are for non-trans women, so, you know, that's a disproportionately likely element of the situation here. But also being like a pick-me who joins with the oppressor is not new or uncommon. I don't think that being a black right-winger makes you less black. It might make you like a self-hating black person. It doesn't make you less black. I don't think you could fairly say, right, yeah, trans isn't an ideology. Well, every identity and the acknowledgement thereof is an ideology, because our current understanding of race in a scientific sense is an ideological preconception that has only existed for a few hundred years. But this goes into that whole everything is a social construct thing, obviously. Like, then it's like, well, okay, if being a trans woman is an ideological position, so is being a cisgender woman. There we go. That's the simple way to say it. Yes. And they both are. Being a cis woman, that's an ideology, okay? You are feasting from the garbage can of ideology in so doing. So that's my, yeah. Woman ideology, which, folks, got to tell you, not a big fan of gender, but am I a fan of woman? No, throw it all away. Get out of here. Garbage. I imagine a world without women or men, just gay people. But it won't mean anything. Is bottom an ideology? In my experience, yes. I wonder if she's put out any more banger tweets. Just a moment. What is this? Rumble. Oh, okay. Wait, did she put out a video on Rumble? Political prisoner Jessica Watkins. Her fiancé Montana Senif speaks out for her. I don't think I've ever opened a Rumble link before. Was that super loud for you guys, or do I just have my volume turned up really loud? It was super, not as loud. It was very loud for me. I don't care anymore. But it was fun to yell really loud. That was pretty fun. I enjoyed doing that part. To those believing leftists think hashtag trans lives matter, think again. This is what the left looks like behind their mask of love and acceptance. Their ideology is all that matters, and will even wish for a trans woman to be for refusing to espouse it. She's not wrong? Well, she's wrong implicitly. There are people on the left who are bad about this, but everyone on the right is worse about it. Like, you can point at a couple of left-leaning people and go like, look, here are some one-like comments where people are reveling in you being sent to a men's prison. And then I can point to the entire GOP, like from top to bottom, you know? So I don't really think it's a valid argument through implication. Are there any, like, videos put out by her, or is it all she doesn't like being listed as sex male? I mean, yeah, that must suck. Could we, like... She doesn't seem that well. Who's this person? Militia member, Jan 6 protester, rioter, whatever. This is going to get used by the right for weeks when talking about trans people? No, well, they're not going to acknowledge her. They don't want to acknowledge a trans woman demanding to be entered into a women's prison who's also a J6 political prisoner. They're not going to acknowledge that. They would hate to acknowledge that. Can trans people not legally change their sex in America? It depends on the state. Identification is usually done at the state level, except for, like, passports. Isn't she in prison? Can she tweet from prison? She's in jail, I think, at the moment. Vosh, sex and gender should not be on ID IMO. I don't know. This feels like something you'd have to run by, like, an OPSEC guy, like, because there's a lot of knowledge that I just don't have in the subject. Is it, like, a valuable identifier in terms of serving civic bureaucracy? Like, I think it should be easy to change your gender or whatever on your passport or whatever. But is it, like, necessary, or is this just like all you need is an SSN and the rest of it's just bullshit or whatever? I don't know. I don't really know. Sex tends to be useful for medications, though. Sure, yeah, though you'd talk with your doctor about that. Yeah, Annie, it's probably, like, more complicated than I think it is, so I don't really know.